Welcome back, everybody. My name is Mason. I'm an exercise physiologist and one of the owners of the Forge Fitness Studio and the Daily Shred. In this video, we are going to talk about heart rate monitors, what the difference is between something like your Apple Watch or your Fitbit and an actual chest strap monitor. We're also going to talk about proper positioning for wearing one of these in order to get the best readings possible. If you're finding this video, you most likely have came over from our Instagram page where we go into depth with heart rate training, why it isn't just a hype, why it's actually a vital tool that you can use to improve your workouts. If you've not checked out that video, I highly recommend going over and checking it out. Otherwise, let's hop into that information for today. The first main difference between something like an Apple Watch and a Samsung watch and a chest strap monitor here is the fact that your watch is not going to emit a signal that can be picked up and used by systems in your gym or your studio like we utilize in here. All it's going to do is take a reading and display it on the screen. So if you want to take advantage of the system in your local gym or your studio, which I highly recommend doing, you're going to want to pick up an external monitor here. Your external monitor can also be paired to your watch and display your heart rate on your watch with this instead of what your Apple Watch uses to take the reading. I'll explain why that may be a little bit more important as well in just a minute. So first things first, it doesn't emit any sort of signal. It only displays it. The second big difference is how it is reading your heart rate. Something like your Apple Watch or your Fitbit or even an armband monitor that is separate from your watch is going to be reading using light. And what it does is it shines a light. You may see on the back of your watch sometimes a green or red or blue light in there flashing. And what it's doing is it's shining that light down into your arm, it's finding a vein down in there, and it's seeing when the blood is flowing through there in order to get a reading of when your heart is pumping. Now, it's great. Technology has improved over the last 5 to 10 years, and it's got better at doing that. However, it's not perfect. And a lot of times, it won't get a good reading except for every 30 seconds or so, or maybe even every couple minutes, depending on what you're doing. And you may think, well, at the end of my workout, it shows me my heart rate throughout my workout. That's great, but a lot of times what you don't realize is it is estimating or filling in the gaps that it's not getting a reading on there. And that's where choosing the different workouts comes into play when you're selecting an activity on your watch. Maybe you've scrolled through and you've seen that you could select between like an outdoor walk or a run or maybe high intensity interval training or things like that. Maybe you've thought it's not really a big deal about what you choose. However, it does make a difference because what the watch is doing based on what you choose is it's filling in all those gaps with information that it believes is the most accurate for your activity. So for instance, if you choose an outdoor walk, when it's not getting a reading, it may fill in the gaps with like 80 beats per minute because it assumes that the average person is probably at that heart rate when they're just out for a leisurely walk. However, if you chose high-intensity interval training, it may fill in the gaps with 150 beats per minute because it's going to think that your heart rate is beating a lot faster. And that is going to make a big difference at the end of your workout for how many calories it says that you're burning and what your average heart rate is. So it makes an educated guess of what your heart rate is doing when it's not getting a reading, and it uses that to fill in all of the gaps. So that's how your wrist monitor gets a reading, by light. Your chest strap monitor, your external chest strap monitor, like what we recommend using here in our studio, gets a reading based off of electrical signals given off from the heart. The heart gives off electrical signals when it is beating, and those electrical signals are picked up through the skin. They're transmitted through the skin to your monitor here, and it's a lot more accurate. It gets a much better reading, and it keeps that reading a lot better throughout your exercise routine. This can also be paired to your watch. Your watch knows, the manufacturers of your watch know that it may not be the most accurate. So it allows you to actually pair a chest strap monitor to your watch, and that will get you much better readings and more accurate information at the end of your workouts when you pull up your summaries. So those are the main differences between your chest strap monitor here and your wrist monitor. Our chest strap monitors, which are what we recommend the most in here, are a simple feature that is super easy to utilize. It is not very expensive to utilize these. I think they are typically now, prices have gone down a lot. They're around $25 to $35 to pick one up on eBay or your local sporting goods or your electronics store. And you can get a lot of information out of them. And if you watched our other video, you can actually provide a lot more information to your instructor in the studio that will allow them to help you get a better workout. So those are the differences. Let's talk about positioning or wearing these things, because it is very important. You may be confused at first exactly how to wear them, and I know that a lot of times we run into issues in the gym here with maybe it not picking the signal up the best, and that is simply because not getting set up correctly when you first get your monitor. So first things first, what you want to make sure that you do is you pop off your monitor or you look on the back of it, and you typically will find an L and an R. That means left and right. You want the L to be facing the left side of the body and the R to be facing the right side of the body. That is because your heart gives off an electrical signal in a certain orientation, and in order to get a correct reading with that heart rate monitor, it needs to be oriented the same way. So make sure you have that L facing to the left, R facing to the right. Another big important thing that you want to focus on is you want to make sure that this monitor is nice and snug against the skin here. We don't want it very loose, otherwise it's going to be moving around in a workout, and every time it kind of comes up or loses contact with the skin, you're not going to get a reading. It's going to take a couple seconds for it to get a reading back when it comes back into contact. So make sure it's snug and it is not moving. You typically shouldn't be able to fit more than just one finger back behind that band. It might feel a little bit uncomfortably tight at first, but you will get used to it. And let me tell you, having it nice and snug to where it always gets a perfect reading is going to be way less frustrating. You're not going to notice how tight that band is once you're actually performing the workout. So make sure it's nice and snug. It should be up against the skin. It does get an electrical reading, so it needs to be in contact with the skin. It should not be on top of a t-shirt, should not be on top of a Under Armour tight, one of those workout shirts. It should not be on a tank top. It should not be on a sports bra. A lot of times, issues that I see run into with women wearing these is they put it right underneath of their sports bra, and when they bend over, it kind of pushes on the monitor strap and kind of buckles it up off of the skin, and it loses contact. Lift up the bottom of that sports bra. If it's a longer sports bra, tuck it up underneath. Make sure it stays in contact throughout that entire time. Another important thing to focus on is the orientation of it. So what we want is we want that heart rate monitor to be kind of right around where our sternum is, and we want it slightly over to the left side. And the reason for that being is typically where your sternum is, there's going to be a little concave area that goes in and out. And if you don't have a good contact with the skin here, it's not going to get a good reading. So you want to make sure you move it over to the left slightly. Also, your heart is oriented just a little bit more to the left side of the body, so it's going to help get a better reading there as well. So right below the chest, a little bit over to the left side, nice and snug, move around with it a little bit, make sure it's staying in contact with your skin. And then the last thing that you want to make sure to do with this is electrical signals are conducted a lot better when there's moisture. So a lot of times I'll tell people when first putting on your monitor, maybe get a little bit of water. You can even use a little bit of saliva and run it right on the back of that monitor in order to get a better conduction through the skin for that electrical signal. As you start to get sweaty, it's going to be perfectly fine. It'll get a great electrical signal, but however, when you're not warmed up right off the bat, it might have a little trouble with that. That's where getting it wet on the backside can get a little bit more accurate reading. If you liked this video, you found it useful, make sure to hit that like below or hit that subscribe button. And like I said, if you've not checked out our other video going into depth about heart rate training and how it works, head over to our Instagram and check that out. I hope this helped you out. Have a great rest of your day.